The Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Hello.
How are you today, Lauren?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Last weekend for the State Fair of Texas.
I know.
And we'll say a word about that in a second.
Okay.
Instagram, you find us on Instagram. Just search Wilder Show Pod. And then you will like us and follow and all that stuff. If you want to send us email, just email podcast@wildershow.com. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time or before on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube. And so, please, wherever you get your podcast, find it, like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. We thank you for that. And we are also on the TikTok. Last weekend for the State Fair of Texas.
I haven't been.
Yeah, I went on the opening weekend, which I normally don't do.
I'm a bad Texan.
It's okay. There have been some times, it was a long streak where I had been every year.
Yeah.
And then, at some point, it's like, well, I couldn't really make it.
You missed a year?
I think I did miss a year. A few years ago, I think.
Okay.
I think I stopped bragging about never having missed one because I think I did miss one a few years ago. Mm-hmm. But, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I actually went like for 2 hours just to dip my toe.
Just to say you'd been?
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of like that. Where I might say, well, I can't miss it. I've got to keep the streak alive. So maybe it was that, but it wasn't a full bore push.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Wasn't
on
a $200 day? Good
grief. Yeah, I think the attendance I think was down this year.
Yeah, and I don't mean to cast any aspersions. I've been for years and years and years, and in spite of the expense, I've never not enjoyed myself. I've never regretted going. I just know that, like you said, attendance has been down a little bit this year, and I think every source that I've seen has blamed that on the rising costs.
Yeah.
That's not why I didn't go.
Yeah, your schedule was very busy.
Yeah.
You're very, very busy social schedule.
Very busy. And also I was going to go with my mom, and we had waited until the very last weekend, and now she's got a thing, and it might keep us from going.
Well,
so my expectation is that we won't
miss
go.
This year.
And you know what? I'll be all the more excited next year.
Exactly. Yeah, we talked about this before, and I know I think I've even proved to you that it actually happened, and that was the thing about little lizards that you would get and tie on a string,
Yeah.
But about the same time, they did away with I know it's not politically correct to use this phrase, but you'll understand. They had the freak show.
Yeah.
You go to the freak show.
Used to be okay to call it the freak show.
That's right. Used to be able to call it the freak show, and you could go and, you had the really old guy, and you had the bearded lady, and you had the guy with the alligator boy.
Can I just say one thing? Yeah. It was probably never okay to call it the freak show. It was socially acceptable.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's a great point.
Let me
we were less
time, and
we were a little less sensitive. Yeah, in those days to saying things like that. We used a lot of language we probably shouldn't have way back when. But at the same time, those went away. You could no longer go and spend a quarter and get a little lizard. And you'd put the little lizard, had a little noose around its neck, and then it has we could not tie it on. It was like not a clothespin. What's it called?
A safety pin.
A safety pin on your shoulder. And then for the whole day, you're riding the roller coaster on the Comet or wherever, you got your little buddy right there. He's scurrying,
super dizzy and
scurrying this way and that.
If he vomits,
on your,
it's such a little bit that you'd never even know.
And so anyway, all those days are gone. Everything's all freshly scrubbed for the most part. A little more expensive. Everything's more expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, the tickets used to be 50 cents, I think. The tickets were 50 cents each. Now they're $1 each.
Oh, I didn't. Well, when did that happen?
Like 2 years ago, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're $1 each. So you had 60 tickets at $60. They go fast.
They go really fast.
So a little hint to you people that are going to the fair. Those tickets are like spending money. I used to think the fair is great because after you pay to park, all you have to do is use tickets.
No, You knew better than that.
Yeah, I did, because I was the guy going to the little booth.
You were the one paying for the tickets.
Anyway, have a great time at the last weekend of the Great State Fair of Texas. It is great. I mean, I love being there every year.
If you are so inclined, ride the log ride.
Oh, that's right. Say about that.
Because this will be your last chance. I think I saw 37 years, late 80s was the first year for the log ride. And I do remember riding that with my young kids, and they have good memories of that too. And it was one of them, was my daughter, that pointed out this is the last year for it. I don't know why. I don't know if the participation has declined and not as many. Or sometimes it's just its time has passed, and now they have some great new ride that will be there next year. But if you're a fan, ride it for the last time this weekend.
That's right. First, a little a preview. At some point, we're going to talk about teal pumpkins, the Teal Pumpkin Project. If you have seen teal pumpkins, which first time I saw one, I thought, what in the world? There is a reason, and we'll tell you what that is at some point in our time together. We have to talk about Trump in Gaza. We have to talk about Trump in Venezuela. We have to talk about AOC and Bernie on a little town hall. That kind of ties into Trump and the shutdown. We'll get to some of that. But first, Charlie Kirk posthumously was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which I think is the highest civilian honor the president can bestow. And so the president, after he had been where was he? It was in Israel, spoke to the Knesset, and then he went from there directly to Egypt and dealt with things there, the negotiations, signing the deal, the negotiations there about the Trump 20-point plan for peace and for the ceasefire, and then immediately came back and basically got off the plane and went to the North Lawn or the Rose Garden or wherever it was. And the reason they did it on that day is because that was Charlie Kirk's birthday.
Very meaningful.
Yeah. So Erica Kirk was there, and she accepted the award, the medal, in Charlie Kirk's memory or whatever. So it was good. The president spoke shorter than he normally does, which I think was because he was just tired. He even said, I called Erica and asked if we could perhaps put it off a day. Because I've just been, and she said no. And I'm not sure that's how the conversation went, or if he even asked her that. But they were doing it on that day because that was his birthday, Charlie Kirk's birthday. And so they did it, and he was awarded that, and there you go. Her talk went a little longer than I expected, but it was, it was nice, it was sweet, and I think honor to whom honor was due is what that was all about. Okay, Trump and Gaza, they haven't disarmed. That was one of the things in the 20-point plan. One was that they would disarm. The other was that they would return all of the hostages, both living and dead, and they haven't done that. Now, I think they're up to 11 now as of this sitting, but that's not 28. And so there is some nervousness about, is that a breach of the deal, or do they really not know where they are? Are they playing games? They haven't disarmed. And then, of course, we have the fear that we talked about before last time about the possibility of civil war. There's an old saying, nature abhors a void. Right? The old radio station days. You have a general manager who's maybe never been on the radio. He's a business type. He doesn't really know much about what it takes to do the radio thing. Doesn't really know any of those things.
But he's a good manager.
He's a super manager.
He can manage people and manage budgets and stuff like that.
The other side of the building is great. But he knows about as much about what we did on this side of the building as I know about what they do on that side of the building. However, as the boss, you can sort of impose yourself on all sides of the building. Nature abhors a void. I remember a guy was coming, I won't name him, but a guy came to me one time and he said, hey, how do you get, and he named the general manager, how do you get so-and-so to let you do what you want to do? He said, I've been trying to get, and he will never let me. He always comes in and tells me to do it this way and tells me to do it that way. And I said, well, first of all, you got to get the ability to do it. Then you got to be right. And then you got to do it several times in a row. So his default is to pay attention to somebody else. You don't have to outrun the bear, just outrun the other guy.
Yeah.
I'm not comparing general managers to hamas. I want to be clear. That's kind of, I went down that road. It's like, whoops, that's not really what I meant. But what I mean is, in the same way, nature abhors a void. If there is not order, if there's not some form of governance and stability, then these wild guys, these Hamas guys, who, as bad as the war was, and it had all of Hamas's attention on Israel.
Yeah.
Not on the Palestinians. But if part of the peace deal is, hey, you know what, Hamas is going to be disarmed and Hamas is going to sort of disband. Whoa. They kind of like having been in control of the Palestinian area. Mm-hmm. They like that, to be in Gaza, and they're the ones in charge. So how do you get in charge if you're left with one side and the other side, and you're no longer fighting an enemy from without? You'll fight the enemy within.
Right.
And that is sort of the fear, that Hamas will be taking out hostilities not on Israel, but on the Palestinian people. And then what role must we play, if any, to maintain order? That's sort of the fear there. So Trump has said they will disarm. Well, they haven't disarmed. Mm-hmm. What he said was, they will disarm or we will disarm them. Well, that is a boots on the ground sort of comment. So
right.
I don't know, where that's going, but that is where it is at the moment. Venezuela and these speedboats. The president, most people already assume that the CIA was working in Venezuela. And that's how we know, if we do know, that those speedboats are filled with drugs.
Right.
And that they're filled with drug runners. The boats we literally blew out of the water. Most people can assume that the U.S. wants regime change in Venezuela, but it's another thing for the president to say it out loud, which President Trump has done. Mm-hmm. And it makes some people nervous because of things, what's called sources and methods and all that. You know what that is, sources and methods. Sometimes people who know some things but don't know everything can let something slip inadvertently that would allow the enemy to know, hey, wait a minute, he said this is how they found out. That must have been this guy. Mm-hmm. This guy is, but I thought he was on our side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So remember after Osama bin Laden was killed, it was some security advisor, can't remember his name, for Barack Obama, who put out there that it was Navy SEAL Team 6. Well, that's a horrible thing to do. And there was trouble that came and murder that came and deaths that came of other Navy SEAL Team 6 members because of that outing. You don't want to do that. And if you know anything about Navy SEALs, they don't brag about what they've done. You never know the great things they've done. And sometimes if you see a book from a guy that says, I was the guy that did X, just know that guy is not he's not well viewed by other Navy SEALs. Because that's just not what you do. You don't do that. So anytime somebody talks about these kinds of things and says, yeah, we have CIA, I directed the CIA, that's another thing with an ego thing, where the president would say he wants to claim the success is his own. So, yeah, we got these speedboats. I have directed the CIA to do these things in Venezuela, because then it can come back to him. That this was good, the drug guys are dead, and the boats are blowed up good, and it's really because I made it happen. And how do we find out? Because I directed the CIA. So in talking about those countries, and sometimes who is and who is not helping us, I mean, it can put some of those people at risk. So I like that we are on the ground with operatives in all the places around the world, working to keep America and keep our allies safe and weakening or defeating our enemies in every way that we can. I just think it's better maybe if we don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, before you get to AOC and Bernie, there's something else happening this week, or that happened this week. It was the official end of Mark Maron's podcast.
Yeah.
And he's kind of thought, first, I have to say, I'm not a fan. I have listened a few times when he had somebody on that I was really interested in. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I mean, he's been on for nearly 16 years.
That's amazing.
I was aware of it. He's kind of considered the godfather of the modern podcast, because he was one of the first ones to do it in the, long form interview kind of thing. He's a nasty guy. Stand-up comedian. That's the other part of what he does.
And I don't think he's that funny either.
I don't either. Actor also. And I think that's taking up more. I mean, actor, maybe you consider him an actor. I don't know that he's a very good actor. Yeah, he's got a decent voice. Yeah. But it's kind of a little, he was also an Air America guy. Yeah. Remember Air America? Yeah. The liberal talk radio experiment. Yeah, I don't know if he did middays or something like that then, but yeah, it failed quickly. It's a little passing of time thing. He's finished now 16 years, nearly 1,700 episodes. We're right behind him. We're we're
85.
Nipping at his heels.
This is 85. We're close.
Yeah, we do a very different show than Mark Maron, though, just so you know. Anyway, but I thought that was kind of worth noting. Yeah. Barack Obama was his last guest. He'd been a guest maybe 10 years ago, quite a while ago. And I think having him as a guest then sort of lit a little fire under the podcast and brought it to the attention of a lot more people. But I saw that in the news and thought it might be worth mentioning.
It is, and I don't. First, congratulations to him for 1,700 episodes. That is quite a feat. I did see a clip of it with Barack Obama. It's about as boring as he was. I'm not. Maybe people think what we're doing is, but I'm saying I expected more. You have the former president. Actually, arguably, you have the most maybe still popular Democrat. Yeah. Someone who could be leading Democrats into sort of the promised land if he chose to. And I just didn't think it was.
Yeah, I haven't listened.
Think it was good.
And I probably won't listen. Yeah. But if it seemed like it was boring, it might be because it was less about Barack Obama. If you would be interested in that and the stories that he might have to tell and the opinions that he might have to give, then it was about Mark Maron and it being the final episode. Yeah. And the whole reason that Mark Maron did that podcast, it was not to talk about himself, although he did quite a bit talk about himself. Yeah. It was to interview the other interesting people that he had on the show. Right. So if this was more about him than it was about the guest, I could see where that might leave people a little bit flat.
And I might listen to it to hear the final one.
If there's a monologue at the beginning, I would suggest you fast forward through the monologue. I grew weary quickly.
He's wildly, obviously liberal.
So liberal.
Speaking of, AOC and Bernie were part of a town hall on CNN as we're sitting. Pretty natural on Wednesday night. And let me say a word about the two of them. I am pretty slow, I think, to talk about people's looks, maybe for obvious reasons. But I don't really talk about people that look a certain way on the air, maybe off the air. But give me something. But on the air, I don't really talk about the way people look so much. But I think Bernie's had work done.
You think?
Did you see the clip that I did? Didn't you think that he looked? That was not. You can't spackle a face enough to get that look. I think he's had work done. He's not young. Yeah. But the only reason I bring it up is because that is something you would do if you were going to run. Here's what I think. Here, just a wild guess. Yeah. First of all, Chuck Schumer should hope that this happens, as we would hope the opposite. But what if AOC runs for president and runs with Bernie as the VP? Yeah. Stay with me because I know he's not young. No. But what if Bernie did that to sort of solidify and then fairly quickly sort of backed out and you pick somebody else? And maybe the person you pick is, I don't know, Pete Buttigieg or somebody. And
that would be so wrong, though.
It doesn't have to be part of the ticket. So in other words, if you want to have a wildly out of control left ticket, I think you would put AOC and Pete Buttigieg. Yeah. You get these brand new everythings. You got her and she's crazy, and you got him and all that comes with that. Yeah. I mean Buttigieg. But then they say, well, it wouldn't work. Maybe Kamala was right about that. But bring Bernie in, you really get all the people that are crazy on the left.
Yeah.
They vote. Then Bernie says, I think I'm going to go do all the weekends at Bernie's. I'm going to be gone now. And you find a way to have everybody be excited, and never becomes elected into the vice presidency. Look, I know that's wild, probably won't happen. But believe me, at least the first part of that, her running for president is what Chuck Schumer wants. And usually, not always, but sort of one of my rules in life, whatever Chuck Schumer wants, I want the other thing.
Pretty safe
bet.
So
Chuck Schumer wants that. What I want is for her to run against Chuck Schumer. And that brings us to the whole shutdown. The whole shutdown, we've said before, and other people have said it, is because Chuck Schumer couldn't do what he did 13 times when there was a budget situation and a need for a continuing resolution. 13 times when Biden was president. He couldn't do it. 13 times. He was lecturing Republicans on the need to continue, payments and the people in the government and we have to keep the government open and we'll deal with these things down the road. But keeping the government open is so important until to him it isn't. And the reason it isn't is because AOC might be challenging him for his Senate seat. We talked about that before. So Bernie and AOC are on the town hall on CNN last night. One of the things they talked about was they both had a displeasure with Democrats who are not supporting Mamdani. You know who Mamdani is?
I do.
Right? He's a socialist who's running for mayor of New York. I mean, he actually says, I am a Democratic socialist. I am a socialist. They posted a picture of the three of them on social media. It's just so funny for three millionaires to talk about, socialism. It's like three communists walk into a bar. They demand the workers pay for everything. That's sort of what it's like with Bernie and AOC. Anyway, I didn't watch the whole thing. I'll just tell you that I'm watching. Well, when we've talked before, and this is not talking about somebody's looks. We talked about who's the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie.
Chris Christie.
When Chris Christie starts sort of dropping some pounds, you think, oh, maybe he's going for a run. I don't mean going to jog. I mean going to run for the presidency.
Right.
When J.D. Vance, I think, was slimming down a little bit, and maybe he's gearing up for those kinds of things. When somebody who's older has a little work done on their face.
Yeah, I got to look closer. I'll have to see.
Let me say, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. For people training to spot this, I always look. You look at the eyes, around the eyes, the upper cheeks, the forehead, and the jawline.
Okay.
And I think if you pull up a picture of Bernie 2 months ago and pull up what it's unbelievable.
I will do my research.
His eyes don't look the same. And he always kind of has a wild-eyed look. But that's not what I'm talking about.
They're wilder even now, just because they're a little more wide open.
Yeah, I think they're a little more, everything kind of shoved out of the way or pulled out of the way. Anyway, hey, if not, hey, you want to look younger, look younger. I got no problem with it, really, seriously. But sort of that whole thing of, I can do this in AOC. So she would be young and vibrant and a woman, maybe our first former bartender as president. Maybe not.
Well, maybe so.
Then you got Bernie. So I think that could be a wild thing. I hope it doesn't happen, obviously.
Would first woman or first bartender be the biggest?
Yeah, well, woman would be the first thing, obviously.
Biggest claim to fame.
I don't think she, I don't know. It's going to be a mess. No matter who it is, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
I hope it's not AOC. And honestly, well, I won't get into all the other things. I hope not. We'll just have to wait and see. But there you go. That's what happened. And there was an interesting, just to put a bow on this, there was an interesting thing written at CNN, an opinion piece. And it talks about how, I'll borrow from it for a second. At first sight, in the third week of the government shutdown, things seem to be working out better than expected for Democrats. They've made their key issue, looming health insurance premium hikes, a national story. They've opened divisions in the Republican Party, and contrary to stereotype, they didn't immediately cave, showing supporters that they had a backbone In classic showdown politics, this might have laid a decisive trap for the Republican opponents as the human cost of the shutdown mounts to create a political imperative for the party in power to find an off-ramp. But this is the age of Trump. Mm. And what they're saying is, in this opinion piece they talk about, all it does is give Donald Trump the impetus to say, you want to keep things shut down? Okay, then we'll go through with other powers. We will do things that normally you would be doing, but you don't want to do it. So we're going to look at some of these programs that we don't think are working. Now, the president, I think, says it in a way that's not very productive. It's accurate. It's just not very productive. The president says, we're going to do away with a bunch of the Democrat programs, and we're going to fire a bunch of the Democrat people.
Yeah.
That's not the way I would say it, because I think it just starts an argument that it's harder for you to win. I think the better way to say it is, look, we're going to do away with some of this fraud and abuse and waste that you guys don't have the guts to get done. So we're going to do that. Now, some of these programs are pretty important to you guys, and yet you don't want to come back to work and fight for these programs. So if they're not worth fighting for, we're going to do away with them. That's the way you talk about it. And that's really the door that has been opened. So normally it'd be a deal of human suffering goes up. Oh, no, the party in power, we'll find a way. What can we do to get all these people back to work? And the weaker party, the underdogs, would say, we really want this. And the party in power say, well, okay. And you do this thing and you cut a deal. Trump says, no, not going to do that. We're not going to do that. If the human suffering is only on one side, then the pressure is not on the president. The pressure should be on the Democrats. And if you go back to the reason why we're even doing this is because Chuck Schumer is afraid he'll get primaried.
Yeah.
He's afraid he's going to have to face AOC in the primary, and he'll lose the primary and lose his Senate seat. And so he's doing what he has not done, did not do for 13 times when Biden was president. He's saying, yeah, no, we can't do a continuing resolution this time. But that's the reason why. So even the CNN opinion piece talks about, shutdowns usually end when the political, human, economic pressure becomes so acute that one party has to quit. The question is, which party will quit? Oh, it is time for Scattershoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show Scattershoot. Let me do this real quick. Sort of breaking as we're taping. Former Trump advisor turned adversary John Bolton has been indicted. The indictment alleges Bolton shared, quote, more than 1,000 pages of diary-like entries that contained classified information up to the top secret level. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how this all fleshes out. I've said before, it turns out so many things are illegal. It's a matter of what you get pursued on. It's what a coincidence that this is a guy that made an enemy of Donald Trump, and he did something wrong. I mean, if you dig deep enough with anybody, you're going to find some things that are perhaps worthy. But that doesn't excuse if he did these things. But if it relates to the book that he wrote, that the book had to be vetted. Anyway, it's complicated, but just to let you know that we know, and we're going to continue to follow the story of John Bolton's indictment. An indictment is not a conviction. It is not a sentencing. An indictment is an accusation, right?
Right.
And as always, he is cloaked in the presumption of innocence. But it's a big deal. He's been indicted, and we'll certainly be following that.
Hey, you are the one who turned me on to this. I've seen these pumpkins in the wild, in the neighborhood, but I never knew what they meant.
What's that?
It's the Teal Pumpkin Project.
Okay, real quick, because I've seen this.
You told me what it means.
Yeah,
I didn't know what they meant.
I didn't know what it meant, so I was kind of scurrying around wondering what's the deal with the teal.
If you have a teal pumpkin, and to get a teal pumpkin, I don't know, there might be that some places, like Hobby Lobby, for instance, you can get all manner of fake pumpkins. Maybe they have teal pumpkins. I don't know. I think what you would have to do, though, if that does not exist, You've got to get a pumpkin and paint it.
You paint it.
Teal.
Yeah, paint it teal.
Yeah, you can spray paint it teal, do whatever you want. But then you put it on your porch, and it signifies to your little neighborhood trick-or-treaters and their parents that you have alternate trick-or-treat treats. So for all of the little ones who might have allergies to certain foods or intolerances to certain foods, maybe they don't eat sugar for some reason, maybe it could be a gluten or a nut thing or whatever, you can have a little bucket of toys. Like think of the things that you used to put in your kids' goodie bags, like when you had birthday parties and you had all the little kids left with a little goodie bag. And you can get those things all over the place. Those little gifts, little puzzles, little word games, things like that. You might want to put a sign up with it too, because this is still sort of a new thing.
Explaining what the deal is,
But certainly for the parents who know, they will see that teal pumpkin on your porch and they'll know this is a safe place for us to go. I love that idea.
Good idea.
I love that idea.
I've seen even recently somebody was, maybe it was online, I don't know, somebody was talking about different things you could do for trick-or-treat treats that are not food items. One was like a little... something silly like a little glow ring, or a ring that has a blinking light.
Or just glow sticks.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. So you can do a lot of different things. You know, I've had my own idea. I think I've shared with you before about what to do. It's a low maintenance thing you can do.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's two. One is a little higher maintenance. One is to provide them with chili. And when they come with their little buckets...
Yeah, this is low maintenance for whom?
You just get out the ladle and give them a dipper of it.
This is such a terrible idea.
But if they don't want that, another one that I've tried before is to get one of those really huge lollipops and just stick it in the front yard.
Yeah. And everybody gets a lick of the lollipop as they walk by. Listen,
you have to put a sign on it that says "one lick only." So you just get the big lollipop, you stick it in the front yard, put the sign on that says "one lick only."
Yeah.
Then you shut your door.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween, kids.
Yeah, those are not good ideas. Well, say what you will about Jimmy Kimmel. Think what you will about Jimmy Kimmel. Not necessarily. I mean, certainly for whatever his past transgressions, there are some things that he's done in the past, I guess,
funny,
that
really
are funny.
funny.
I'm not somebody who I don't record him. I don't watch the show, but what I have seen every year that has really made me, it's so what the kids call, it's so cringy, but it is also so hilarious.
Well, say what it is for people who've never seen it before.
He solicits people the morning after Halloween when your kids wake up, roll tape on them while you tell them that you ate all of their Halloween candy the night before.
It is brutal.
The reactions from the kids, first of all, some of them are so sweet. I've seen kids look like they're holding back tears while they say, "It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, Mom." And others who just throw the most ridiculous tantrums that you've ever seen.
But it is so cruel. It's so cruel to tell the kids that.
It is.
I mean, do the same thing on Christmas. Tell them that you gave all their toys away the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so. I mean, you're jiving the kids for clicks or whatever.
I guess maybe in some ways I have kind of an ugly sense of humor. But
I do too.
If you're into that kind of thing, highly recommend on November 1st that you might want to record Jimmy Kimmel just so you can see that.
That's the way Jimmy Kimmel celebrates All Saints Day.
Okay, you and I talked about something a little earlier this week on the morning show. We didn't have a whole lot of time to go into it, so I would like to expand a little bit on that here with this long form time that we have. I was shocked to read about the amount of adults, the number of adults, the percentage of adults who are still afraid of the dark. I say still afraid of the dark. I guess it's a fear that they could have developed in later years, but most people consider this a childhood fear that just never goes away.
Yeah. I can I comment?
Yeah.
I was never afraid of the dark as a kid. Didn't really bother me. When I travel, though, staying in a hotel, I will leave the light on in the restroom.
Yeah.
With the door closed, so I can find my way to where the restroom is if I need to do that. But that's not out of fear. And I'm not afraid of the dark.
So even when you were a kid, you never wanted a light left on in the hall or a night light or something like that?
I think there were people that did. I shared a room with my two brothers. So between us, probably there was somebody that wanted it on.
Yeah.
I don't really. And my parents might have had those little old, say green. They were kind of a neon green glow things. You plug them in the wall.
Did they have
kind
those
of
when we were little?
Maybe they were, but they weren't a little modern looking. They were kind of ugly and weird. They looked like a little TV screen sort of thing.
I
kind
was
of beige on
thinking
the outside.
Those were more
anyway. Maybe they were. Maybe it's my memory.
I remember the little nightlight that would plug into the wall, and there was no on and off switch. It was just if it was plugged in, it was on.
Yeah.
And if you unplugged it, it was off. But I'm sure that my sister and I always had something like that in there. I don't think it was I don't know if it was a fear of the dark or if we
to have the light on.
Just to have just a little light on like that. But among 2,000 adults that were surveyed just last month, 29% admitted that they are still afraid of the dark, even into adulthood. They like to have a light on at night, and it's because they don't like the sensation of being in complete darkness. And the thing that surprised me even more is that men reported slightly higher rates of this than women. 33% of men said that they still like to have a light on at night. And I mean, when they go to sleep, 26% of women said the same thing.
I mean, those two things are not necessarily the same. I'm sure that the study, was good, but preferring to have a light on is not the same as being afraid of the dark. But you're saying they prefer to have the light on because they still are afraid of the dark. Something like that,
this
right?
This is not a thing. Like you mentioned, having a light, having the light on in the bathroom so you can find your way in the middle of the night. I don't know this for a fact, but I think I understand exactly what you're saying, and I might be inclined to do the same thing. That's not because I probably when I was 25, I might not have needed the same thing because my eyes were better.
Right.
I could, it didn't take as long for my eyes to adjust to the darkness when I woke up. So I could find the bathroom in any room, even if it was a hotel room that I wasn't used to. So I maybe didn't need it as much. Any light that I might have, it's not a light so that you can find your way around. It is a light that you leave on, either lights fully on or a night light or a lamp or something like that, so that nothing creepy comes out from under the bed while you're asleep.
That's interesting.
At least if it does, you're going to see it and you're going to be prepared for it.
For me, it's sleepy time, as I call it. I like it as dark as possible. I really do.
Yeah, me too.
And the thing is, I remember as a kid, we went to we do a little spelunking when I was a kid.
Did you really?
Yeah, went to a place in Texas to caves, and we went deep into the cave, and we were so deep into the cave that you literally could not see your hand in front of your face. It is the most pitch dark I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, and you weren't afraid at all.
No, well, I was a little kid at the time, so it was creepy because there were bats and all kinds of things in that little, you hear the water babbling near you. There were all kinds of creepy things in a cave. But presumably in your room at home, you don't have the same creepy potential things. But I've never been able to recreate that darkness. It's in almost every darkness, there's enough light to see what's going on. And I'm comforted by the darkness when I'm sleeping. I like it quite dark.
Yeah, me too. Scary movies. What do you think about scary movies?
I don't. I'm not afraid of scary movies. Okay, I'm not fearful. Like, oh my goodness, I'll have nightmares if I watch a scary movie. That's not at all the thing. I don't like gore in particular. I don't like any of those movies. I don't think it's good for us to watch those things, especially as things have gotten more realistic. In the olden times, it's like, oh, I could see the makeup on Frankenstein or whatever.
Yeah.
It does it. But these days, it's like with computers and all kinds of things. It looks real.
Somebody so real.
Somebody tragedy befalls someone. It's like that's really watching a person suffering those things. And I don't like that. But it like jump scenes and that kind of stuff, that doesn't bother me. But generally speaking, I would say if it's a horror movie, not just a thriller, thriller I can deal with. Horror movie, I don't ever go to them. I don't have an interest in them. No judgment on anybody who does. I know a lot of people love them. Look, I like roller coasters. Some people don't. Yeah. So whatever. If you see that as sort of a movie roller coaster, okay, enjoy. But some of the gory stuff, I can't imagine there's something that is good that comes out of that. But again, that's just me.
I don't really like scary movies either. I certainly don't like the gory things, the gory, like the ghosty creature, supernatural kind of things like that. I really don't like that at all. Every once in a while, a movie will come out that I'm really drawn to for some reason. There was a movie out a couple of months ago, Weapons. I think it might still be in the movie theaters now. I did see it. Creepy, scary, weird. I had my hands over my eyes for much of the movie, which is a really good trick that I have gone back to for my whole life. I did see it though, and I did enjoy it. And I was kind of worried in the middle of it that I was going to have bad dreams. Really, that's something that I kind of worry about too. That I kind of feel, especially if I see something at night. I'm worried that it will affect my sleep. It turns out that doesn't happen to women as much as it turns out to men. It turns out to be true for men. Which is kind of weird because men consider themselves fans of horror movies, scary movies, more than women do. 33% of men said that they love watching horror movies compared to 24% of women. But men face worse sleep consequences afterward. Interesting. A quarter of men reported always or often having nightmares following horror films.
That is so weird.
Which, I mean, if that happened to me 50% of the time, I would not. I mean, my sleep is too important to me. I don't like scary dreams. Are just the worst. Only 13% of women said that they had the same kind of sleep interruption. They were afraid during, and they felt kind of creeped out even immediately after watching the horror content, but that delayed psychological effect hits men way harder than women.
What was the movie I See Dead People with the little kid?
Sixth Sense.
Yeah, that movie. That movie, I would put that that wasn't a horror movie, but that was maybe a thriller. Or what would you call that? What would be like genre of that?
I guess it was a thriller, maybe but there were supernatural parts of it, and then there were. I mean, I don't. Okay, listen. Can we just do a little? I'm going to digress just for a moment. Yeah. I was about to say something about the movie and give it away
about this movie,
a little bit about The Sixth Sense. Spoiler. I mean, it's a movie. It's 30 years old.
Yeah,
so
okay,
how can you really spoil
Time's
it?
Up,
But wait, I just heard somebody talking about how their 13-year-old had gone to the theater to see that movie, a special showing of that movie.
Ruin it. Okay,
and because he was 13 years old, he had no idea what the twist was.
Just say a word about that movie.
It was brand new to him.
I saw that movie in theater, which I rarely do anymore. But way back then, I saw it at the theater.
Yeah, me too.
And I did see it quite early in its run.
You had to.
But it was I didn't know that we were supposed to see it early in its run. Just a buddy of mine, they was like, "Hey, let's go see this movie." Okay, it sounds good. And it was jaw on the floor. It was, and
good.
I know I'm really tracing a rabbit trail here, but M. Night Shyamalan, is that his name?
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan. I think he has always been chasing that movie. Yeah, he does a lot of interesting things.
He was so young.
But he was so young, and that was the first thing he did.
Such a sensation.
It was a magical thing. And I've told you before, I compare him to the guy that wrote Silver Bells.
Oh.
The guy that wrote Silver Bells, the Christmas song that we know so well.
Yeah.
He wrote that, and it was like an immediate hit.
Yeah.
He spent the rest of his life. He wrote a song every day for the rest of his life, trying to find the next.
So isn't that
kind of sad in some weird way? But he did have that huge hit. Anyway, so that's a movie that's a kind of movie that I would like. I did watch X-Files when it was on. I like those kinds of weird, creepy things like that. That didn't bother me.
Yeah.
But the horror stuff, what I would consider real horror movies, I don't have an interest in. I don't really watch, but I don't have bad dreams because of seeing movies, I don't think.
I remember watching Nicole Kidman, The Others was the name of the movie.
I saw that movie.
I watched that movie when my kids were gone. I was the only one in the house.
Oh, creepy.
And it was late at night. And before the movie was over, I had to turn it off. And I just to finish it in the morning when it was light outside. I just knew that there was no way I could finish that movie and feel good about being alone.
Yeah.
I mean, about sleeping through the night.
Right.
I
will say I have done that before when I've watched something at night.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't think I want to finish this tonight. I'm going to watch it maybe later. Just not really something I want to do, depending on the, like you're saying, depending on the circumstances. But generally, not a fan of horror, really not at all a fan of horror movies. Like thrillers, don't mind scary things, don't like gore. That's kind of that's my take on that.
Gotcha. A Wall Street Journal report this week says that tardiness has reached epidemic proportions.
Okay.
And part of the problem is we're not even really, well, I can't say we, because that would imply that you are not. It would imply that I am not concerned about it at all. But as a people, we're not really even concerned about being late.
We think
anymore.
it's not, generally we think it's not a big deal to be late.
Not a big deal.
Well,
and
why? Why would we think that?
Because we all have phones, and it's so easy for us to just shoot a quick text or make a quick phone call from wherever we are saying, I'm just going to be about 5 minutes late, which might be 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, or more. The problem with this is, most people think that as long as they can send that message, they're kind of off the hook. It might not say something terrible about you. People might be used to people being late. I don't know. I don't like it when people keep me waiting over and over and over again. This is something that I've struggled with for much of my life. I don't like it about myself. I've never felt like
being on time.
Being on time, yeah. It's. I hate to keep people waiting. I feel responsible when I keep people waiting. So to me, it is an important thing. If I even have to call, if I do use my phone to call ahead and say I'm going to be 5 minutes late, I hate it. I mean, I'd rather they have some warning than not. Yeah. But I don't think of this as a positive trait of mine.
You don't see it as buying you more time.
No.
You see it as evidence that you have failed.
That I'm irresponsible.
You're letting them know.
That
hey, listen, I'm an
down.
idiot. I missed the turn. Or whatever. I started too late. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, maybe,
I feel the same way.
Yeah, maybe because it's something I felt like I've done so often and I don't like it about myself. And now this kind of proves my point. It might not be the worst thing in the world to be late, but the positive things that can happen to your reputation when you show up just 5 minutes early. When you show up late, people might think you're what? A little disorganized, a little inconsiderate.
Or you don't care.
You
don't care.
A little flaky. You don't really care. Whatever the reason for your tardiness, it doesn't really matter. That is the impression that
this
you're
was
leaving.
not important enough to you to be on time.
If you want to make a good impression, though, there's just one thing that you have to do to make a good impression.
What's that?
Show up 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
Just 5 minutes early. Yeah. How hard could that be?
It's easy.
Just build in an extra 5 minutes and show up 5 minutes early. The difference that is going to make in the way people perceive you, just it's incredible.
Well, I mean, it's the old saying. My dad said it when I was growing up, and other people have said it. It's been around forever. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. If you don't show up at the dentist office for your appointment at 8:30, you're supposed to be ready to go at 8:30. Ready to go in and do the stuff at 8:30. You don't drive. You're not pulling into the parking lot at the point of the appointment.
That's right.
You were already prepared. It really honestly does not take that much to do it right.
No.
It takes a very little bit of preparation, but that's really about it. I mean, honestly, everything that you do that gets you there, as you said, when you're there, just shift it back a little bit.
Just a few minutes.
Can I tell you one thing, though?
Yeah.
And you can look this up. I didn't know this for sure, But people who, and I don't think this is of you, you have a special dispensation, okay? Because first of all, it's not true of you, at least my experience.
Well, I think I've gotten better in recent years, but I've had to really work on it.
Well, let me tell you something. You've heard of the phrase passive aggressive. It is very passive aggressive to always be late. It is a controlling thing. It is a thing of they can't start without me, or they can start without me, but I'm not going to be there. This is something I can control. If you look it up, it's a passive aggressive trait.
Or I can't control what's going to happen when I get there, but I can control when I get there.
Yeah, and I'm it's better not to have fewer of those things in your life of the passive aggressive stuff, and more importantly, it's just from a practical standpoint, it's a good thing to be thought of as it's a character thing, I think, to be on time. If you don't want to say it's a character flaw to be late, that's fine. But, I'm not saying that. It is certainly a positive thing about your character if you are dependable and reliable to be on time. I mean, even though we have these little toys in our pocket that say, hey, man, run a few minutes late. If just build it in.
Yeah.
Build it in. That's all. Let me also say, not everything is that crucial, right? I was coming here to the studio the other day, and the freeway was shut down. And it was construction because it was quite early. It shut down to 2 lanes, well past where I would normally feel it's time to exit.
Yeah.
And I totally blanked out. And I looked up and I was like, I am miles past where I should have
needed to exit.
Yeah, and I called you and I said, I'm an idiot. I don't know. Now, the good news is it wasn't a drop dead time. I wasn't
crucial.
late. It wasn't late. It was just a matter of saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm way up here. I said, listen, I see the exit for Norman, Oklahoma. And no, I didn't say it wasn't like that. But it was silly.
Yeah, it's so rare that something like that happens with you. It's so rare that you're late that you've bought yourself the benefit of the doubt for a time or
I
two.
Hope so. Well, as you have.
But if this is something that you find yourself facing often, that little bit of tardiness everywhere you go, Entrepreneur Magazine says that being late more than once, that habitual lateness thing, it's a character trait, and it will be viewed as such.
I agree.
And people in business will, as quick as they are to make a judgment about you being late like that, they will also be that quick to make a judgment in the other direction if you show up that 5 minutes early. You're organized, determined, dependable.
Yep.
All you got to do is just build in 5 extra minutes. Just get there 5 minutes early. Makes all the difference in the world.
You can do it. That is the Wilder Show podcast. Instagram, you'll search us there on Wilder Show Pod is what you look for, Wilder Show Pod. And you'll like it and follow us and hopefully share it with your friends. If you want to send us an email, just email podcast@wildershow.com. Easy. Podcast@wildershow.com. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time, or before on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And we are also on the TikTok. So please like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share with all your peeps. Lauren, thank you.
You bet.
And we will see you next time.
love.